What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward, talk about some big news involving President Trump and what you should be watching for in the charts moving forward. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY on invested cash. The offer ends at the end of March. Anyways, let's talk about the market so far. So one thing that's quite good is the fact that SPY has seen some buyers defend it. We have this bullish divergence that developed, and we wanted to see a follow-through day. A break above 565 would be bullish, as I said, and so far the market is pumping. We did call out that we favored upside, and we did predict this exactly correct. So SPY is in the green, the QQQ is in the green, the majority of ETFs and index funds are in the green. There were some exemptions though. Tesla is a little bit in the red, so is Amazon and Nvda. So a couple of big tech stocks did sell off a bit, but the majority of sectors are in the green. If you look at like finance, if you look at like other sectors such as like health technology, energy utilities, the majority of stocks are in the green. So the buyers have a bigger edge right now. They're in control, and we'll see if this continues as time goes on as we approach some new resistances. But before I talk about the charts, right, the charts are very important, of course, but we have to also talk about the context, what's happening on the news and everything else like that. The first thing to remember is that over the weekend, it was 100% confirmed that we saw Congress avoid a government shutdown. That would have been very detrimental to our economy, but we avoided that. The government was funded for another 6 months, and President Trump has signed that funding bill. So good news so far, as the government has avoided a shutdown and the market was pushing thanks to that. That's one big factor. Secondly, we had some more news that came out. Retail sales did show signs of a slight decline to 3.1%. That's a decline relative to before, and that is below what we were forecasting, right? That's not so good, at least in some ways, because right now it shows that right now there's a broader pullback in consumer spending and overall sentiments tied to the tariff and budget cutting policies of President Donald Trump. So that's some interesting news. This in turn would incentivize the Fed to kind of just keep things the same and wait things out, especially as we have like more potential tariffs coming. So that's the reason why for FOMC, which is going to be on Wednesday, there's currently a 98% chance the Fed is going to keep rates the same. So going forward, okay, tomorrow is going to be Tuesday, March 18th. We have lots of data coming out in the morning, exports and import prices. This will give us more insights on inflation. And then another big thing would be the red book might cause some volatility here and there. And last but not least, we have our manufacturing numbers. Manufacturing may also give us more insights on that sector. So before market open, we have a bunch of data, manufacturing numbers, export and import prices. We'll see if this is inflationary or not. And then after that, there's not really much data coming out. But then on Wednesday, it's going to be a crazy day because we have the interest rate decision coming out and the FOMC economic projections. This will give us insights on what interest rates should look like 1 or 2 years out. Then we have the press conference from the Fed, so watch that very, very closely. So we'll see what this leads to. Please keep all of this in mind. This is going to be very, very important for us, at least moving forward. Excuse me, Jerome Powell's tonality will be very important as well, so wait for that. So the big day is going to be Wednesday. We do have some data coming out for tomorrow, but we'll see how things end up going, at least from here. With that being said, like I said before, we're most likely going to get the Fed to just keep rates the same, as there's lots of uncertainty associated with tariffs. But keep in mind that Jerome Powell has also been very optimistic about the economy, as the labor market is still resilient. And there's a chance that he could try to remain optimistic and help the market. So we'll see, just to be safe. Three more things about the markets. Keep in mind involving President Trump. I'm not really getting a major update from him when it comes to his tariffs, because you have to remember that he has nothing scheduled until April 2nd. That gives the market about 2 weeks of leeway. Could he announce something? It's always possible, but all he really said was just the same things as before. He mentioned that there's going to be reciprocal tariffs coming, and he says no to exemptions on steel and aluminum tariffs, and he said that more are coming. So that's all he said so far. He's not specifically saying he's going to do another 200% tariff on this country or try to do this to the EU. He's not really saying that right now. For now, his attention is shifted to something else, and that's actually going to be the deal between Russia and Ukraine. Now, I know that people do not like it when I talk about politics. I've seen lots of comments about that. I completely understand. Politics is a massive headache a lot of the time. But in this case, I have to talk to you guys about what's sufficient and comprehensive to affect this market. And in that case, I do have to mention some politics because to some extent that is affecting the market, right? Donald Trump's tariffs cause big moves. What Donald Trump wants to do, that causes volatility. And this whole ceasefire potential deal could cause a lot of volatility for the markets as well. So why is that? What's going on so far? Well, President Trump has announced that he's going to be calling Putin tomorrow. Tomorrow, they're going to be speaking to each other about a potential deal. The original deal did get an agreement, a heads up, a thumbs up from Ukraine. They agreed to the original deal for them to have a ceasefire, but Russia have not agreed yet. Russia did mention that they support the idea and principle, but there are things that they are demanding, right? They're demanding that these things happen from no NATO membership for Ukraine. They want to end international sanctions against Russia. They want them to recognize territory and just a bunch of things that they're asking for. So we will see, does this lead to negotiations? Will they negotiate this out? And if we get some kind of ceasefire agreement for 30 days, it's not like forever, it's just a temporary one. Will that lead to a big change from this point on, right? We're going to be waiting for that. But that's going to be very important for the markets. If we get that ceasefire deal either this week or next week, that could cause a big bounce. As of right now, there's a lot of negotiating to be done. So we'll see how it goes. Just for now, we'll take it one step at a time. President Trump will be calling Putin. They're going to negotiate this. And I personally just want to say I wish for peace. I don't want to see anyone, pass away from this. I just want peace. That's what we want at this point. This has been going on for years, and let's just hope for the best. So we'll see how it goes. Let's remain optimistic, keep our heads up, and this will cause a lot of volatility in the stock market if that deal is complete either this week, next week. If it does end up happening, I do expect the stock market to explode and see some upside, so keep that in mind. Lastly, guys, this is what the earnings calendar, looks like. There's not really much coming out. We just have like Xpong announcing earnings and a couple of them. On Wednesday, we have very, very minor earnings like General Mills. Thursdays when we have Nike and FedEx, and Friday we have like Neo, so just keep that in mind. The fear and greed index is currently at extreme fear, that's making up the majority of sentiment right now. Momentum is extremely fearful as well as trying to balance just a bit. And then we have the put to call option ratio at extreme fear as well. It's going up just a little bit, which is not so great. However, with all these puts being bought, will we see some kind of squeeze like move in the markets? Lastly, we have the volatility index. If you guys look at the VIX, we're seeing this essentially dipping a bit. It's becoming a lot more neutral, which tends to be a bullish sign for stocks. With that being said, that's it for what's going on so far. Let's break down what I think is going to pan out. Starting off with SPY or SPY, we're going to the daily chart. We're looking a bit more bullish, but we have a tough resistance near this 569 area. So I would say between 569 to 570 is going to be kind of tough to break. We'll see what kind of reaction we get off of this. We might not just squeeze past it like this. We might push a bit towards like 570, maybe see a little bit of a dip and kind of consolidate before FOMC. But then I do think that we have the potential to continue this push into the much higher 570s. Maybe FOMC will be the catalyst, maybe something else. But initially, I do want to say the daily has a tough resistance near 570. When you look at the 4-hour, it's all aligning together, right? The 50 EMA happens to be there. So I think we push to 570 tomorrow. Maybe we pull back, maybe we kind of consolidate a bit first before we get some kind of attempt for 575 to fill this gap up here, then to continue to push towards these imbalances near like 581, right? So there's potential for upside, but there might be some consolidation near 570. It's a tough resistance. So keep that in mind, guys. We might see like a push in a lot of sideways price action first before we go even higher. And about the market going higher, I'm saying this is just a temporary move. I'm not saying the market's going to rally forever. I think this move may last like 1 to 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks of upside, 1 to 2 weeks of relief. But then when Trump starts announcing his reciprocal tariffs, I do think that could cause more volatility again for the markets and even more downside. Even new lows could be made again because of that. So just keep that in mind, please. For the QQQ, we look a bit more bullish. I just don't want to see us lose 480. I do want to mention that the 4-hour does look pretty solid and the daily is looking decent, but we do have this tough resistance near 485 to watch for, so just keep that in mind, at least as time goes on. So when I draw this out, right, if you look at our line right here, we have 485 as our resistance. We will see if we break through that or not. If we do break it, we're looking for essentially 488. And if that breaks, we're looking for 492. If we end up hitting like 480, we could be dipping back down to lower levels such as like 475. So we'll see how it goes as we have like a double bottom forming here. So that's very, very important. I think that this looks like a double bottom. It's kind of like symmetrical looking. And this could be actually opening up the doors for like the much higher 480s, if not the 490s. So in my view, okay, as rating 485, this could pull back a bit, retest like 480, kind of consolidate between 480 and 485 for some time. Then I wouldn't be surprised if we start pushing for like 492 plus. I think there's a good chance that we try to like pump even more. So just keep that in mind, guys. I think we're doing a good job thus far. For the Russell 2000, we're looking bullish because we're trying to get back above this trend line right here. You guys see this white trend line was our resistance. Now we're actually back above it. However, when you ignore everything, just know we have 206 as our resistance. If that breaks, we could be pushing even more. That could lead to something even bigger. So that's going to be very important. And then if we get a rejection right over here, right? That's going to be very important, at least for the way in which we move. If we reject here, we could be dipping back down to about 202.73. So we'll see what that leads to. But in my personal opinion, I think there's a good chance we try to push even higher. So for now, look for some consolidation here around this like 50 EMA as we see like some kind of dip move. Consolidation like this before it tries to push higher. I do anticipate some sideways price action between 205 and the low 200s before it starts to break out higher. On ES, we're looking bullish, especially as we have this unfilled gap up here. The 4 hours looking stronger than the daily time frame is looking better. I think the daily looks stronger because once again, this is improving. We have this imbalance to fill up here around this 5,800 area and above. So far we could favor that upside move. However, I need to see this hold above 57.25 and 56.80, that range for this to continue, right? We have to see that, especially as we have a bullish divergence. Excuse me, we need to see that hold up. With this wick forming here, I do think we get some kind of pullback move on ES first, but as long as we're above 56.80, it might just be a minor one, and we could just consolidate a bit and start pushing higher to fill this gap up here, back up towards 5,800. I think there's a very, very good chance we attempt something like this, so just keep that in mind as a strong possibility. So that's very, very important. So keep that in mind. For NQ, it's the same thing. We want to see this break past 20,000. If we hold above 20,000, exactly as we predicted yesterday, we're looking for an attempt for 20,400. If we end up losing 19,853, we could be turning back down towards 19,600. So we have this double bottom here. And if we break resistance, we're looking for essentially a bigger pump. This might dip here and it might try to rebound like this. So I just want to see how this ends up going. So with this double bottom, I think we're trying to uptrend here. I just want to see if this could hold up better. We have 19,850 as our main support. And if this breaks, I do expect this to continue. So please keep that in mind. As we're continuing, Bitcoin is making higher lows right here, doing a good job. We're forming this like bullish wedge. So if we try to break past 85,000, we're looking for an attempt to push for 86,000. And if we lose the support at 82,500, we could be dipping back down to 80,000. So we're making higher lows here. We're trying to break out higher. We're looking for 86,000 as our target. Bitcoin is looking more bullish for now. Now, for Nvda, this looks like an accumulation that's forming. We also have a potential inverse head and shoulders like structure. I need to see us hold 117. If that holds, we could attempt some kind of rebound. We'll see what happens during the conference that's coming up very soon. They're going to be unveiling their new chip system very soon as well during the upcoming conference. So we'll see. There were some delays with their Blackwell chip, but I think that that could be very promising. We'll see what the reaction is. You know, these events could go either way. If we could hold 117, at least from a technical basis, then we could be looking for an attempt for 126. If we lose 117, I think we could be dipping closer to like 111 again. So you want to be very careful with Nvidia. But so far, buyers are defending at 117. It does favor that bounce move. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. Obviously, these events are kind of capricious. You can't always predict them. I'm a little bit concerned about Tesla. So I would have liked to see Tesla hold above 250. We tried to do that today and we rejected. Now we're looking at support at 233 to 230. Those are going to be our two support zones. This is forming like a double top here. It's looking kind of weak here. I wouldn't be surprised if, as what typically happens, is we kind of push in the mornings like this, back up to like 242 or so. We need to get back above 250 to turn bullish. If we can't do that, we're going to likely retest 233, if not 230. And this could start declining with a double top. So it's looking weaker now. Unfortunately, this is looking like the most likely possibility unless we get back above 250. So please be very careful with Tesla for now. This is underperforming compared to the markets. I say this because of the setup and also because we're getting lots of bad news involving their sales, involving another downgrade from Mizuho, and involving some bad news. For Apple, we have this dip. We have kind of like a double bottom here. I would like to see us break past 216. If that's the case, we're looking for 220. If we end up dipping below 211, we could be dumping a lot more. So we're trying to make higher lows here, and this could be pushing for 216. I see potential in this for now. For Netflix, We have 942 and then 933 as our supports. As long as those hold, we could be looking for a rebound in an attempt to go even higher for essentially 960 and then eventually 980. So there is more upside potential, but this might start dipping towards 933 before it tries to bounce again. So keep that in mind. For MSTR, we're looking for essentially this double bottom here, and then we're looking for 305 as our resistance. If that breaks, we're looking for 327. If you end up dipping to about 278, this could be dipping as well. So you want to be a little bit careful here. But this double bottom does give us potential to push more, to these higher levels. So I'm favoring this double bottom here. We could try to reaccumulate before it tries to push for 305. Looks pretty good as long as you don't lose 277. We're looking like we want to bounce. Celsius is bullish. We did mention that this could be trying to bounce. I think some good news came out because of a big partnership that came out that was just announced. So we have to see if it could hold 30. If it does, I see an imbalance fill for like all the way back up to like 31 that's coming. So there's more upside potential. Nice setup so far. As long as we don't end up losing like 27, we're going to be fine. This is still favoring upside. For Supermicro, we're making higher lows right here. If we end up losing 39.8, we could be tipping back down. But overall, I want to see this thing break past 44 to start pumping even more. So give this some time. We're making higher lows, and I think we're doing a good job forming a potential wedge. So this could be pushing even more as well. For Palantir, we have an inverse head and shoulders on here, which looks pretty good. I don't want to see us lose 81.5 as long as we hold above that. We're looking for an attempt for 91. For Rivian, I want to see us break past 11.22. If that breaks, we're looking for an attempt to get back up towards 11.5. I see a test of 11.22, excuse me, and I'll see what kind of reaction we get. We have 12.58 as resistance on SoFi. If we break that, we're looking for essentially 13.15. AMD looks a bit more bullish to me. I need to see this hold above 100, though. If that breaks, this could go a little bit higher temporarily to about 108. If we end up losing 101, we turn back down. But for me, it looks a little bit more bullish for 108 for now. On ARM is looking for resistance around 122.5. If that breaks, we could be going even higher for like 125 plus. However, if we lose 117, we turn back down. So we're going to be testing a tough resistance. We'll see if we consolidate first before it tries to bounce. Coin looks decent, but I want to see us break and hold above 188 if that holds. 188.48 to be more precise. If that holds, we could be pushing more. If that holds, I think we go back up to about 195 plus. If you reject it, we could be dipping back down to 183, but this does look a bit more bullish. Amazon is looking decent. We have a nice looking structure here. I just want to mention that with this, we're range bound right now, right? We like to bounce off the low 190s. We like to reject near 200. I think we could get another like 200 retest. We need to break that to turn bullish. Otherwise, we're just kind of trading sideways here. We're just going to wait and see on this. Same thing with Meta. If we end up losing 587, we're bearish. If we break past 620, we're more bullish. We're kind of in the middle. We could be looking for 608 in the 620s just to see what kind of reaction we get. So keep that in mind. If we break past 389, we're looking for an attempt for 394, then 400. If we end up losing 385, we could turn back down. But overall, this double bottom, we'll have to see how things end up going, especially as we try to break out higher for 393. For Google's in the middle here. We have this support to watch for around 164, and we have this resistance around 168. If that breaks, we're going to be trying to push higher, so we're kind of in the middle for now, going back and forth between these levels, but I do anticipate 168 is coming, so keep that in mind. I also want to mention that GameStop has a bullish divergence. If we break 23.5, we're looking for an attempt for 24. If we break below 22.95, we could be dipping lower. This still looks a little bit more bullish. For AMC, we have 3.04 as our resistance. If that breaks, we're looking for essentially 310. If we end up losing 2.96, we could dip, but I think this looks a little bit more bullish. For DJT, we have a double bottom. I want to see us hold above 20.28. If we push higher, we're looking for 21. For the VIX, we look bearish. We're making lower highs. We're rejecting pretty hard here. So I think this might be tipping for about 19.47, perhaps suggesting the market's going to be pumping even more eventually. Excuse me. The 10-year is going to be affected by Jerome Powell, so keep that in mind. So is the dollar. It is kind of flat right now, but we'll see if this downtrend continues, which tends to be a good sign for the markets. So with that being said, in my opinion, the charts look more bullish. SPY might be approaching 570, but it's going to be a tough resistance. We might consolidate a bit in this range here between We have a support at 563, then we have resistance around 570. Might consolidate a bit first before it tries to go higher for now. That's the most likely move, but I can't make promises because it also depends on what happens with Jerome Powell and what he says during FOMC on Wednesday. So that's going to be the next big factor for the markets, not to mention some geopolitical situations. Until I see you guys again, I thank you all for listening. I'll be back with another upload tomorrow morning before market open. Until then, I just wish you all the best. I really, really appreciate you guys so much for watching my videos. Please have a good one and peace out.